All right, everybody, welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It's Friday, folks. Love me a Friday. Y'all, any of y'all that listen to me for any amount of time know I'm a fiend for Friday. I love Fridays. We go out to eat dinner on Fridays. Get us a little T-Mam, Tex-Mex and margaritas on Fridays. Friday is usually the day before a college football game. Friday is the day generally we start college baseball series. So Friday, just a good damn day for me. This Friday, we're going to do our Trace Otra games recap on the college football bowl games that mattered. We're going to do our national championship prediction today. And then we'll talk a little bit about them Hardwood Horns. We had been going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday around noon every day. Now that football season is over, we will just have one show a week. And we'll talk about Longhorn basketball. We'll talk about Longhorn baseball when that season starts, which, by the way, I believe baseball season is 29 days away for these Texas Longhorns. Saw a poll came out today. They are ranked number 8 in the perfect game poll. Lots of SEC teams in the top 25 of that poll, as you might imagine. So it's coming around to like the second most exciting time of the year, I think. Football is my jam, but I do love some college baseball. So we'll go one day a week. I'm not exactly sure which day it'll be. We'll figure it out. Maybe Friday. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, you can find us at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on iHeartRadio Podcasts. YouTube has got a podcast thing now. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. I haven't seen the landing page for that, but apparently YouTube now hosts podcasts. So if you like to listen to podcasts on YouTube, you can find us there. All that is at Horn Takes. Trace Otra Games Bowls That Matter edition. We were 29-15 on the season in our Trace Otra Games picks. For those of you that may be new, we had a couple guys a couple guys subscribe here recently. They may not have a freaking clue what Trace Otra Games are. Trace Otra Games are just the 3 other games I'm interested in every week during college football season. We kind of do a little review of those games. We kind of do a little preview of those games. We pick those games. We decide who we think's going to win or lose. And then we come back the next week and see how we did. Our record so far this year, 29-15 coming into these bowl games that matter edition. So let's get it kicked off. And by the way, there's more than 3. There's more than Trace other games. For those of y'all that don't know Spanish, Trace Otra means 3 other. And I say it in such a very good, deep Spanish accent that you guys probably just couldn't understand. That's all right, though. Texas Bowl, number 20, Oklahoma State versus Texas A&M down in the Texas Bowl. Oklahoma State had Ollie Gordon. Texas A&M had almost nobody. And poor Texas A&M, they were playing a backup quarterback, a guy that hadn't played a lot this year. And on the very first pass play of the game, which was the very first play of the game, he did something to his arm. Not sure. It landed underneath him real weird. They immediately ran out onto the field and called for a stretcher or some sort of apparatus to like support that elbow arm. I'm not sure. Tough luck for them. So then I want to say it was a true freshman, Mr. Tennessee or something like that, they kept saying. And he just, he struggled like any freshman would. We had Oklahoma State winning this game 27-20. They went at 31-23 over Texas A&M. So we're 1-0. God bless those Texas A&M Aggies' hearts. I don't know, man. I hate Texas A&M almost as much as I hate Oklahoma. But, man, you just had to feel bad for them going into that one. They looked like their whole team left or something. Alamo Bowl, number 12, Oklahoma versus number 14, Arizona. We just picked this one to talk about because it was a close matchup rankings-wise. So we have Arizona winning this game 30-27. We did not expect Oklahoma to turn the ball over 6 times in that game. Oklahoma really should have won that game. They just, like I said, they kind of pissed it away with 6 turnovers. They end up winning the game, Arizona comes back and wins that game, scoring 17 points to none in the fourth quarter to win it 38-24. Pretty big win for that Arizona program. I mean, it's a big name win. It's some momentum headed into the Big 12. So we're 2-0 now, headed into the Cotton Bowl. Number 7, Ohio State against number 9, Mizzou. We really liked Ohio State's defense in this game, and I think they played pretty well. They kind of cracked there a little bit late when Mizzou kind of pulled it out. I mean, I guess you say pulled. I think it was 3-0 at halftime, and this game was like 3-0 until like sometime in the third quarter, I think. I don't remember exactly. We had TSOU, the Ohio State University, winning this one 24-17. They lose it 3-14. Missouri, big name. I mean, we talked about it when we reviewed this game, or previewed this game, rather. A good opportunity for Missouri, a little momentum this season. They played well in a couple of games against pretty good opponents. It was a good opportunity for them to sort of build on that momentum and get a win over a big name. That Ohio State team didn't have a starting quarterback. There was a lot of other guys on that squad that did not play in this game. Most of their offense, actually, which might explain that 3 points scored by Ohio State. But nonetheless, Mizzou wins the Cotton Bowl. So now we're 2-1. Orange Bowl, we said it didn't matter. It obviously did not matter. Holy fuck. 63-3. There's a lot of people talking shit about, there was a bunch of commentary, and rightfully so, on Twitter. This is why Florida State didn't get into the college football playoff, which I feel like is, one, kind of fair, but 2, not fair at all, because honestly, they didn't have anybody. The caveat, though, Georgia had just as many guys sit out this game as Florida State did. Georgia had just as much reason, if not more, to feel snubbed by the playoff committee. Just as much excuse to kind of lay down and not play as Florida State had, and they just came out and absolutely kicked the dog shit out of Florida State. Who knows what Florida State would have been able to do if healthy and whole in that game? I don't know. I kind of feel like either way, that's still a blowout. Just watching that game, just didn't look like Florida State had a lot of speed compared to Georgia. So rough last month for Florida State fans. They're all playing it off on Twitter like it's no big deal. Danny Cannell's tweeting out to everybody, telling them they're dumbasses and idiots and okay. I mean, just take a lap, Florida State fans. If you guys will just shut up and just let it kind of die down, it'll just go away. And nobody's even going to remember, honestly. I mean, hardly anybody talks shit to TCU about getting wrecked by Georgia in the national championship game last year. It'll go away. But the more you guys talk about how this, that, and this, and all playoff committee, and we're going to stick it to the ACC, the more you guys do that, the more grief you're going to get from the college football world. Fiesta Bowl, number 8 Oregon versus number 23 Liberty. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. Liberty has some gaudy offensive numbers, but they're Liberty. And then and I've never seen Liberty play, but we're sitting at the Texas One Fund pregame party at Manning's down in New Orleans before the Sugar Bowl, and I finally get my first glimpse of this Liberty team. Holy shit, do they not look like a Division I football team? It kind of reminded me of like what the team looked like on Necessary Roughness. Just like dudes that didn't look like football players. You can't take anything away from them. They're 12-1 12-0 rather, headed into this game. I believe it was 12-0, maybe 13-0. And they go right down the field the opening drive, and it was impressive. And they stuck around for a while. They just eventually, Oregon's just got better bodies, better depth across the board than Liberty will, obviously. We thought the score of this game would really depend on, how much Oregon was actually interested in this game. And they were. They were pretty interested. They won it 45-6. We had them winning 31-20. But after that first touchdown and missed extra point, Liberty couldn't muster anything else in that game. So now we're 3-1 in the Trace Otra Games Bowls That Matter edition. We might be 4-1 because we said the Rose Bowl didn't matter. It didn't. It was a joke. You know what? And we're sad about that because the Orange Bowl should matter. And we're going to do a show about this whole NIL and this whole transfer portal and how it's just absolutely trashing college football. Maybe not a whole show, definitely a segment. Maybe, I've even been kicking this idea around a little bit, maybe like a series of shows. So like its own little sort of, I don't know, mini series of shows. Yeah, we might do that. Rose Bowl, number 1, Michigan versus number 4, Alabama. Michigan favorite coming into this one. We thought it'd be low scoring. We really liked Michigan's defense. We also like that Alabama team. We've been saying on this show, I've been saying on this show, I say we a lot because I'm a team player, but I really just mean me and my camera and my wife that puts up with all this shit. But we've been saying this Alabama team is a lot better than people giving them credit for. Even back early in the season when Texas went in there and beat them, when they didn't look so good against, South Florida, we kept talking about how this is a very talented Bama team, and you guys that are talking shit about how they're not good and this is the worst Nick Saban team ever and yada, yada, y'all are full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. So this was a good Bama team. We like both these teams. But I picked Michigan to win this game 17-16. They end up winning it in overtime 27-20. So we knew it would be low scoring. We knew it would be close. So this Michigan team's pretty dangerous. And I posted this prediction up on TikTok. Pretty sure I posted it. I don't know if I did it on Twitter or not. Definitely did it on TikTok. And I got a lot of grief. And one guy reached out to me from Michigan and said, man, you're like the only guy that's picking us anywhere. Anybody that does podcasts or videos or anything, you're the only one. Sometimes you get them right. I just felt like this Michigan team just really good defensively, man. And they're going to be tough to beat in this national championship game. Good defense beats offense a lot. It's just the way it go. So we go 4-1 on our Trace Otra Games, bowl games that matter. That brings us to 33-16 on the season. We're proud of that. We started off really slow. We had a lot of 1 and 2 weekends to start out this season. And we don't pick bullshit games. We pick games that are close games from a rankings perspective. We try to do games that it's not just a pick 'em. It's not just this is an obvious game. Like we would never go Texas versus Rice on Trace Otra Games. It just ain't going to happen. So we got one more to go to try to go 34-16 on the season. And that's obviously the national championship game that comes up this Monday night, 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. Number 2, Washington at number 1, Michigan. By the way, congrats to those two schools. This is the first time that either one of these teams has made the final in the college football playoff. Both schools have had a couple of chances to get there, just couldn't get it done. So congrats to both coaching staffs, both teams, both fan bases. You're there. Got to be excited about that. Michigan is a 4.5-point favorite in this game. Again, I love that Michigan defense, man. I think Washington's offense is in for a huge test. Where Michigan is so good is along that defensive line. And I'll be honest, man, we didn't talk about this on the show yesterday when we kind of recapped the Sugar Bowl. But from the pass game perspective, the defensive line just didn't have a great game for Texas. Not a lot of sort of swarming pressure, onesies and twosies getting pressure, and it just wasn't consistent enough. I think Michigan has the talent to push that pocket back into Penix Jr. and really make it rough for him. So I think, Washington's got a good offensive line. Penix Jr. has pocket awareness, or at least he did in the Sugar Bowl. Like, got to be like top 5, top 10 all time, just the way he handled himself in those situations in that game. His release is quick. He is like deadly accurate. He's like a Savage rifle out of the box. Any of you guys shoot rifles, you go buy a Savage rifle out of the box, and that thing is a tack driver. That thing will stack rounds and rounds on top of each other. Same thing with like a Remington 700. Just super accurate, out of the box rifles. That is Penix Jr. He's got no upgrades, folks. He's just accurate right out of the box. I think Michigan's going to be able to just absolutely run the ball right over the top of Washington's defense. We saw Texas have a lot of success with it. I don't know why they didn't just go 1995 Nebraska on that ass and just run the ball over and over and over again until Washington stopped it. I think if Washington can protect Penix Jr. and he's anywhere near as accurate as he was against Texas, they got a shot at keeping this a really close, sort of high-scoring shootout type game, and I like Washington in that type of game. Nothing against McCarthy, but J.J. McCarthy is not – you don't want to have to put the game on his shoulders. Michigan's game is let's run the ball to death, and then let's complete some little play-action passes to the tight end. Every once in a while, we'll throw the ball down the field in one-on-one coverage, a one-man route type deal. And if we make a play, we make a play. If we don't, all right, we'll just run it some more. But J.J. McCarthy isn't going to line up and, like, take you down the field in the air like Penix Jr. can. So Washington's got to be able to protect him. I think Washington has to be able to stand up to that Michigan running game defensively. If they can do that, man, who knows what will happen in this game. To me, the question really about this game is like, did we see the superhuman version of Penix Jr. in the Sugar Bowl? Or is that just who that guy is? And I mean, I don't think most people understand how filthily accurate that guy was. And like, I mean, there was a play early in that game where someone from Texas got pressure right up the middle. He just sidestepped it, stepped up one time. He really didn't even get his feet set, and just flicked that damn ball out there like 35 yards down the field. And he could not have thrown it any more perfect. The coverage was there. The ball was just beautiful, just beautifully placed ball. And he did that over and over and over in this game. Obviously, he's pretty good, or he wouldn't be throwing for 4,500 yards a season, 2 seasons in a row. So we know he's good, but is he superhuman? Was he superhuman in that Sugar Bowl, or is that just who he is? I think if that's who he is, I kind of like Washington's chances in this game. But I think if Michigan can get that running game going and just really lean on it like Texas should have, I think it could get ugly for Washington. You're talking about limiting possessions. You're talking about really wearing out that defense, putting them in a position where they just don't want to be. Washington wants to be on offense. They want to get off the field. I mean, this is every team, but this is really Washington. They want to have the ball in their hands, and they want Penix Jr. winning that game for them. They don't want their defense having to win that game for them. Michigan isn't a great passing team, but I think they can hurt you in certain situations, especially you're focused on that running game. Here's what I think is going to happen in this game, folks. I think Penix Jr. and that wide receiver core are feeling it. I think they're going to play outside of their minds one more time in 2023 season. And I think Washington wins another close, high-scoring game to win their first national championship since 1991. I got Washington winning this one 38-31 over Michigan in the college football national championship down in Houston. You guys let me know what you think, but that's what I think, man. I just think that Washington offense especially through the air, is just absolutely gross. Hardwood Horns. We haven't talked about these Hardwood Horns that much this season because, frankly, we haven't got a chance to watch them that much this season. Now that we're in conference play, coming into conference play. All these games will be on ESPN and ESPN2. For those that don't know, I cut the cord and I don't have Longhorn Network anymore, which is going to suck. I got to figure that out for baseball. See, I can't be missing baseball. I can't do it. Longhorns are 11-2 on the season. They had a 10-point loss to UConn early on, a 21-point loss to Marquette. Both those teams are top 10 teams. Both of those games happened before Dylan Dessou was back from injury. Not putting a ton of stock in those games for Texas. I mean, they count, but I'm not gonna say this team. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the season. We said what you're seeing with Texas right now is probably not what the team's going to look like midway through conference play, and as you get closer to the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to be a better team than what they showed against both UConn and Marquette. They take on Texas Tech Saturday night, 7 p.m. on ESPN2 to kick off their final season of Big 12 play. Tech is also 11-2 with losses to Villanova and Butler. I have no idea. Those are cool names. I mean, they're names. You hear like they're in the tournament sometimes, but I don't know how good they are. They're currently not ranked in the top 25. And there's all kinds of trash going on right now. So, like I keep seeing this crap on Twitter. Another scandal at Texas Tech basketball. I don't know what the fuck any of that means. I never knew there was a scandal in the first place. There's some kid that's transferring. That's all I know, and he's a freshman. I don't know. I don't know any details because nobody else knows any details. But apparently, another scandal at Texas Tech basketball. As usual, the Tech fans are foaming at the mouth about this fucking game. I saw some dude tweet the other day that, what did he say? Remember when we took over Austin? The time all the A&M fans, or A&M fans, there might as well be A&M fans. They're cult-like. The time they came down to Austin from Lubbock to like Yale and I don't know, like they thought they took over the Irwin Center or whatever. Just odd. Like, just odd. It's just odd behavior. Like, when you say remember that one time, you're basically saying we don't ever do shit. Like, it's just dumb. And the thing is, they weren't even... like, they could have said, remember that time we went and beat Texas? Remember that time... what's that kid's name? I can't even think of the little kid, the guard, the white guard they had that could just kind of rain threes. Really good player. Anyhow, I think he's in the NBA now. He made a great play at the end of that game. I believe it was that game. Dropped a 3 on him for the win. They could talk about that, but instead they talked about how they took over Austin. Anyways, whatever. We only have to deal with Tech for one more semester. Really happy about that, man. Tech fans, Tech used to be like a school that I would root for. Like I would go, if they weren't playing Texas, I was kind of rooting for Tech when they would play. And then we moved to Lubbock. And it may have been bad before then. I don't know. I feel like it really got bad when A&M left the Big 12. But it could have been before that. Not sure. They might have always hated Texas. But when we moved here, it was just ridiculous the amount of comments we got just wearing our Texas stuff, like around town, like going to the store with a Texas T-shirt on or whatever. Not like going to games, like just being a normal human being and going to the grocery store or going out to eat. Just so many comments about wearing Texas stuff. And I just got to, and then you go to the games wearing Texas stuff when they come to town and the fans are just absolute jackasses. I mean, just completely in your face, horns down in your face, screaming in your face. And I'm not making this shit up. And I got to where I just cannot fucking stand Texas Tech. And I hope they lose every motherfucking game they ever play the rest of their lives. Cannot stand them. So anyway, Texas is led by scoring guards Max Abmas and Tyrese Hunter. Adams has, and this is a transfer. A lot of transfers came in this year for Texas basketball. Really kind of a whole different look team. Adams is averaging 17.2 points per game. Tyrese Hunter, 12.7 points per game. As a team, they average just a tick under 80 points per game on the season. Scoring margin plus 14 on the season on average. I think one of the things, Dylan Dessou's going to get his points. He really came on at the end of last year before whatever injury happened that injured him. I don't know. It hurt his foot, I think. But the guy I think that's kind of the X factor for Texas this year is Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell was a freaking, one of these parade All-American, McDonald All-American type dudes coming out of high school last year or before the season last year. Tons of talent, right? Like long, can jump out of the gym, super athletic, but he only averaged like 4 points a game last year. And he just had no offensive game. Part of that, there's just a lot of other guys ahead of him that they kind of ran the offense through. Part of it was just, he's a freshman and now he's playing around all these tall dudes all the time. He's not playing against midgets anymore. And there's like a confidence thing. It just takes guys a while sometimes. And it took him a while, but he's averaging 11 points a game now. And I think he's the type of, and he's got a lot of game now. He's not just throw me an alley-oop and I'm going to dunk it guy, or I'm going to go get a rebound and dunk it guy. He's got shots. I mean, he's making sure. The few times I've seen him play this year, he's made a lot of shots. He's got like a fadeaway shot. So I think he could be a guy for this Texas team that really kind of propels them to the next level. The games I saw, they did not play good defense. I think that's just I'm not saying bad defense is a staple of Rodney Terry basketball, but I think there's more emphasis on the offensive game, and I think that causes the defensive game to suffer just a little bit. Just kind of the opposite of what we saw with Chris Beard. So much focus on the defensive end that the offensive side of the game seemed to suffer just a little bit. So that's Texas, and that's what they've got coming up. We'll talk about this game next week whenever we do our show. Remember, we're doing one show a week until we come around to sometime in the summer when we start talking about football again, which I can't wait. Some quick draft news for this Texas Longhorn team. We talked about it really briefly yesterday. Alfred Collins, it looks like he's coming back. I don't know if he's made an official announcement yet, but all signs point to him coming back. Alfred Collins is the guy that we have just been really high on for like a year and a half now, season and a half now, and it just hasn't really happened. And so my hope for him and us, Texas fans, is that light just completely comes on between now and next season, and Alfred Collins can somehow be like the next Chavondre Sweat, kind of plays himself into the first round. He definitely has a first-round body. He is 6'5", 320 pounds, long, not fat at all, just a big, big dude, very athletic. Just kind of has to figure out how to play that position and play it consistently. We've heard from Xavier Worthy. We've heard from Jonathan Brooks. We've heard from Byron Murphy. They're all out. They're declaring for the NFL draft. A.D. Mitchell set to declare. I'm not sure if he's actually announced it, but I think we all knew 99% chance he was going to do it anyway. And then there was a whole lot of buzz yesterday about it happening. Again, I don't know if it's been made official, but we expect A.D. Mitchell to declare. And then kind of a little bit of surprise news today. Trill Carter, defensive lineman, he was a transfer out of Minnesota last season, an all Big Ten guy. Didn't get a lot of play for this Texas defensive line this year. I mean, he played some, but he certainly was not what you would call a feature guy. I don't even think really you would say he was in the too deep on this Texas defensive line. He's set to transfer. And I think a lot of Texas fans are kind of bummed because, one, I think the guy can play. I mean, he was an all Big Ten dude. All Big Ten dudes, can probably play football. But the other thing is this is a depth problem for Texas now because you got Byron Murphy out. You got Tavondre Sweat out. You got Vernon Broughton, and you got Alfred Collins that have played a lot, but they're not used to having to be the guys. And then behind them, you just got a bunch of pups. So it'll be interesting to see how this Texas defensive line stacks up. It's kind of funny. I was at a Grease Monkey earlier today. That's a establishment here that does they do oil changes and inspections and things like. I ran into David Thomas, Texas Longhorn great tight end David Thomas, and we just talked a little bit about the Sugar Bowl and talked a little bit about next year and things like that while we were waiting for the cars to get the oil changes. And we both talked about the defensive line. We're both scared to death about that interior. And then the other side of it, just on the defensive line, I think I know we got some guys coming in that can hopefully help. We have still not found, not even next step for us is not dominant bookend package on the defensive line. We're still trying to find just some guys that can play and really find a way to impact the game somewhat consistently. As consistent as that can happen. It's just very rare that you see a guy from defensive end position just totally dominate a game. I guess what I'm talking about is that Trice kid from Washington. He didn't dominate the entire game in the Sugar Bowl against Texas, but he had some big plays in that game, and he had a lot of pressures in that game. And that's a guy. That's what Texas needs to be able to find off the edge. All right, that's the show for today. Next week, like I said, we'll move to one show a week. We're going to wrap up this 2023 season for Texas. We'll hopefully have some more news about who's going, who's staying. Quinn Ewers seems to be staying. Haven't heard any official word. And there's several other guys that have the opportunity to stay if they want. So hopefully we have a clear picture of that. We can get this 2023 season wrapped up. And then we'll wait until summertime. We'll start looking ahead. Spring ball, can't wait for that. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a follow. Give us a subscribe. We appreciate it. Won't cost you guys a thing. We appreciate the support. Email us at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You got an idea for a show? You got something you want to hear me blabber about? Send me a fucking email. Get hooked.